What's going on YouTube? Welcome to another video. Got a new angle here for you today, but we are benching. So I figure, this lifting stuff isn't all that interesting unless your body or the weights are, you know, pretty substantial. So because I can't lift as heavy as I'd like to right now, I'm going to give you some interesting angles you may have not seen before. So some overhead shots here of bench just to kind of see the form and motion. You're used to seeing it from the side. But here I am, and you can see kind of right where I touch, usually a little bit below the nipple line, the pecs. Like I said, short torso, big stomach, so it looks a little bit different for everybody. But ideally, that's kind of the target range that we're benching on here. And essentially, just working through the motions, essentially just continuing to lift with the way that we normally would to kind of build that muscle memory back and get back to where I was before. So that's the main goal. I want to be able to do this carefully and slowly and be able to bench as much as I was before. So, that's the focus here. Just little by little, bit by bit, weight on weight, and consistency over time. So usually when I was benching before I was injured, I would literally do like a red, a yellow, and then kind of go from there. And so now I get to mess around with the change plates. And the pressing is fine. It's just the lowering of the weight and then the feeling in my shoulder. So I'm going off completely on feel to see how my body reacts to certain things. And for the variety in the angle here, you can kind of see there's kind of like that drop and that weight comes down. So I need to relearn how to control that. And I mentioned in a previous video when I had injured my pec all those years ago and I took some time off from benching, the descent of the bench was literally the hardest part. And you can kind of see how it just kind of drops. So I've got to find a way to control that a little bit more. And I think a lot of that is just coming directly from, the lack of the bench training. So that's why I'm going slow. And I'm trying to still introduce some weight so my body can begin adapting to it. And on this side here, I actually did a few reps and it didn't feel good. So I decided to cut it and go lower and just focus and get reps with the lighter weight. And for me, it's mostly the muscle memory and also getting the extra work in. That's why I kind of did that. Now it's been getting better. The more I bench, the more, acclimated, the more consistent I am. I'm getting better at it. And I'm really getting that form back again. And I really just need to find, my ideal grip here. If you look at this video here, I actually went a little bit narrower than before. Usually my pinky's on the ring. And because I noticed that shoulder issue happening, I went a little bit more narrow. Less shoulder for me, more tricep. So that was kind of like my balance there. Overhead press here. Been using a suicide or thumbless grip on here. It just makes the movement so much easier. Whenever I involve the thumb on the bar, I get that weird forearm kind of thing going on, or it just doesn't feel good. And I would have started doing suicide bench, but I've seen too many videos and I don't trust myself. I don't want to build those bad habits. So I'm forcing myself when I bench to have the thumb over and kind of go from there. It's not easy per se, but if you practice a certain way of doing things, you're going to get better at it and making little tweaks here. So I'd rather deal with all that difficulty now and then not have to relearn any movement just for the sake of putting more weight on the bar. So that's been kind of my goal here. And just slowly on the OHP, a little bit unbalanced. You can see here, range of motion is a little bit different on the left side and the right side now. So I just have to be cognizant of that. And that's been a learning experience too. 40-pound dumbbells on the incline here, nothing too crazy. But, just taking my time, just basically feeling that contraction. And then honestly, because these dumbbells, I'm trying to find the correct spot to touch these on. As you get, into the heavier dumbbells, they're just more density to them. They're a little bit bigger in profile, so it's kind of hard to figure out where that tough spot. You can kind of see kind of that uneven here again. And the bench, especially when it comes to dumbbells, is going to help balance that out. It's going to work in conjunction with the barbell and the overhead press. So I'm just going to keep doing these movements, let my body adapt, get back to where I'm at, and then go from there. That's essentially all you can do. That's essentially what physical therapy and rehab is. It's just, doing things in the range of motion for whatever body part you're doing until you can get healthy and the body can adapt and recover. And that's definitely been my goal here. So normally I like to touch the dumbbells to my chest, but as I mentioned before, that shoulder was acting a little bit funny. So even here on the shoulder press, I was super careful and just really focusing on not going too low. And it's not fun and it's humbling, but I'd rather get the work in and do something than do nothing at all. So that's kind of my goal here. And as I shift around where I'm pressing from, whether it's bench or overhead, I'm really trying to just find the range of motion that works best for me. And I'm telling you, these long forearms I have, it's a nightmare to do anything pressing. I didn't realize how difficult it was until now, until I had the impingement that kind of started this whole thing. So I'm really learning how to, move my body around and get what I want out of it. Lateral raises, of course, not that issue with the, mobility and range of motion. It's when I'm pressing, when I'm stacking all those joints on top of each other. When it comes to stuff like this, it's not that big of an issue, as you can see here. But, just slowly making tweaks if I feel anything. You can kind of see here in the mirror, there's a little bit of lag on the left side. So just trying to calibrate everything together and to just keep working. That's all you can do, is just keep going and try to do the things you want to do. And that's how I've always done it. Taking me into the lower body here. And squats have been fun, but starting to get some tightness. So I'm working on some mobility stuff just with all this, work being done. But I am starting to really push the Hatfields and go heavier, which is nice. Just a change of pace. Looks good in videos when you've got a bunch of reds on there. And just overall, like, more variety for what I want to do. So when I'm doing the regular Hatfield, or not the Hatfield, I'm sorry, when I'm doing the regular SSB, it can suck sometimes where it just doesn't feel right. And I'm just continuing to go on here and just work on acclimating myself to the heavier weights. But I do just like having that extra assistance. I don't really use my arms much. It's more of just like an anchor point so my lower body can move. I've got such awful balance that if I ground myself like I'm doing now and hold on to something, my strength increases by so much just because I have that, and I'm more efficient with the movement. So I can dip and put all that leg and hip drive into the squat and kind of come out of there. So you're going to see in future videos where I really start pushing the weights. And these were lighter. My quad and hamstring was starting to feel tight. So I'm going to have to reintroduce like my mobility routine, adding in the deadlifts and the posterior chain. I'm really starting to feel all that now. So it's been a while since I've deadlifted, and as I'm pushing the weight up there, I'm going to have to just deal with it and deal with all the tightness and get back to all that. Loosen things up, stretch when I need to, and practice mobility when it's starting to impinge things. So it's always my right quad. My right leg tends to get most of the symptoms of tightness or lack of mobility. And it usually just comes from that's the more mobile side from what I've been told from PT. So sumo deadlifts here. And just really, nothing too impressive here. Just really focusing on the form, staying tight in the lats so there's no deviation so I can reduce the risk of any sort of bicep injury or issue. And just using my hips and really loading the hamstrings to drive through. And that's the big thing here. I don't want any sort of, issues going forward. So, I don't know. I just feel that it's probably in my best interest to go there and just keep doing what I'm doing and then slowly add everything back. Belt squat as usual here. And I'm getting better on these with finding my form. I want to start maybe doing these freehand without the assistance, but I really just find the benefits and the contraction and just results essentially of the anchor point with the hands. It just makes the lift feel so much easier. That's the problem with me, is when I'm squatting, I like having that weight or some sort of counterbalance to assist me when I'm doing it. So it's not everyone's goal there. So if you want to work on balance, probably, lower the weight and go from there and just focus on that. But to me, it's just about muscle growth and adding in the repetitions over time. A little bit of a different angle here. I like to include this one just so you can kind of see what the front of my body is doing. It's ultimately, nothing too complicated. I'm just trying to go as deep as I can. With the spinal load on the squat, which I've mentioned before, it's easier to hit depth and kind of go from there. So I'm really liking that. And, I can take my time on here. I don't have to worry about falling forward or belt being too tight or anything like that. You really just have to kind of do what's best for you. So I'm really focusing on the hip drive here too, though. I'll kind of like engage my glutes a little bit more because I can sit back and kind of slow down the tempo, which I think is super useful. I think if you're using any sort of barbell or plate loaded free weight thing, you really want to focus on getting out of the hole as quickly as you can and just kind of going from there. So it is what it is. Good old unilateral leg press here just for some extra work. And not the most interesting. I'm probably going to cut back on filming sets, just give you like one or two, just, for my own record of the weight I'm doing. It's just not a fun lift. I like traditional leg press, and I do like to go heavy. I like to feel, again, that counterbalance of that weight pushing against you. And I'm somebody who's like not very good on one leg or balance with the unilateral position. So these are always good for me. But I'm so much stronger when both legs are working together, bilateral. So, strengthen your weaknesses, and there should be some carryover to everything else here. And yeah, I mean, high rep on this stuff is really kind of annoying just because you're fatigued from the one side and then you got another side to do. Especially with the glute kickbacks. I've been like sweating more on those than any other lift. I think it's just the range of motion, the amount of reps done, which is totally cool. I want to get back up to those really high rep sets, but I just got to make sure my body can respond to it, recover, which, that's really the most important thing. So you just got to adapt, and you can always come back to what you're doing, add in more things, and just kind of go from there. So, you're going to see the same stuff like I've been saying over and over and over again. Same stuff, but we're going to change deviations. It's not difficult. Find the workouts that work for you, find the exercises you like, and just kind of go from there. Like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching the latest video. If you want to help support the channel, I actually own my own wet shaving and grooming e-commerce website where everything's handmade by me. It's www.apexsoaps.com, and you can get a 10% off code using wet shaver. We've got some cool scents here. We've got some Coca-Cola scents, a horchata scent, traditional barbershop, just some really cool stuff. And you can purchase samples or you can buy the whole set. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. Be quick to respond. Thanks for watching.